Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome. That, as they say, is that. Marvel Comics. Let's go ahead and get started. Happy Tuesday, all you minties. Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And join me today for your advanced look at all of these collected editions coming out from Marvel Comics this week. So let's go ahead and get started. And welcome back, everybody. Before going any further, a big thank you to David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us advanced copies of all of these books. All of these books are due out in the direct market and book market on December 17th or 18th, depending on where you get your books. So we've got two Epic collections. One is a reprint and one is a modern Epic collection. We've got the Mighty Marvel Masterworks. I love that series. Keep an eye out on the channel. The Junior Mints and I reviewed Silver Surfer Volume 1. Oh, they loved it. Oh, so happy to hear that. Anyway, we've got another Blood Hunt tie-in, and then one of the most interesting post-Krakoa, yet during Krakoa, and very important miniseries that has come out of the Krakoa era. So, as always, I'll leave timestamps in the description of the video. You can jump around in case you don't want to know any spoilers. You just want to look at the art of a particular book. And as always, please don't forget to smash that like button. That goes a long way for us here on the channel. All right, let's get cracking. People still say that? Cracking? Anyway, let's start with the Mighty Marvel Masterworks. All right, the continuing Mighty Marvel Masterworks, The Incredible Hulk. We are on Volume 4. That is crazy that there are 4 of these already. I remember getting to break the news, having my kids involved. What are the Mighty Marvel Masterworks? And yeah, we reviewed so many of these, and we're going to continue reviewing them because they love reading them. They've just been busy with Kempo in school, of course, and both of them are doing great. And I'll be honest with you, here's a little size comparison. Their reading is just freaking crazy. Like the levels of reading they're on. Like Alicia is in the 6th grade, and she is reading at a high school level. No, she's in the 7th grade. I'm a horrible father. And she's reading at a 10th grade level is what her papers show. And Lydia is well above her reading grade level, which is crazy. And a lot of it has to do, by the way, this is this comparison to this. I don't boast enough about my kids on the channel. So we're here to talk about comics. But really quick, yeah. A lot of it, I think, has to do with reading like a lot of comics, reading at a young age. That's why I'm a firm believer that no matter what, as long as kids are reading something, they're getting something out of it. And I think it helps expand that brain, especially at such a young age. Especially when you're reading things like Stan Lee's Silver Age stories. Woo! Or, my goodness, or Roy Thomas's dialogue sometimes. My gosh. Okay, so we do have the standard edition and a direct market cover over here. And they do credit, like, who did what over here for the covers. So if you look on the left-hand side, you'll see the collection cover being Leonardo Romero for the standard edition. And then you'll have the variant classic cover by Marie Severin and Frank Giacoia. So since everything else is the same underneath this book here, let's go ahead and crack it open really quick and talk just a little bit about this book. You have Stan Lee, Gary Friedrich, Roy Thomas, Marie Severin, Frank Giacoia, Herb Trimpe, John Tartaglione, and Dan Adkins. Lettering over here by Art Simek, Sam Rosen, and then, of course, a special thanks over here. That's really cool, probably for some of the artwork. So this book collects the Tales to Astonish 100, and then it also collects Tales to or material, because it was sharing in the magazine with Namor, of Tales to Astonish 92 to 99, and then 101. It's collecting the entire 100, and then not Brand X 3 and 9. But more importantly, the Incredible Hulk 102 is collected in here. So that's when they decided to change the name from Tales to Astonish to the Incredible Hulk. Even though Hulk had his own magazine, which unfortunately was canceled, and then he was brought over to the Tales to Astonish to share with Namor. And now we are on Volume 4, which is just crazy. So in here, yes, there's a lot of artwork by the phenomenal and legendary Marie Severin. You're going to see him collide with the Silver Surfer. So it starts off with, you know, some normal stories here on Earth, and then he gets to go and travel to space. And covers are intact, whether they have the Incredible Hulk featured on them or not. He gets to meet the High Evolutionary and his animal anthropomorphic people that he may or may not have created. And again, covers intact. Hulk pays a visit to Asgard and comes back to Earth. Thunderbolt Ross, of course, playing a big part in Hulk's life as his nemesis. But this is really cool. When we get to Tales to Astonish 100, that's why it's collected in full, it is the big fight between Hulk and Namor. Now, of course, this is when Namor's trying to get his help to help him defeat the surface world, and Hulk refuses, so what Namor thought was going to be a big team up turns out to be a huge fight, and you can see exactly how that ends up. This is the Asgard story. And finally, Hulk gets his own magazine. Tales to Astonish becomes the Incredible Hulk, and he gets a full-fledged magazine still dealing with the aspects of Asgard and the fight against the Executioner there, and then, of course, dealing with Thunderbolt Ross. Not Brand Ek, the little Hulk stories are collected back here, and you get the cover, and then you get no extras. No extras. This particular Mighty Marvel Masterworks has 168 pages and retails for $15.99. Blood Hunt, Marvel Universe. So this is where you're going to find stories like Black Panther Blood Hunt and, of course, the Strange Academy Blood Hunt. So I'll tell you what's collected here in a little bit. Now, I will strongly suggest, if you have not read Blood Hunt, read that first. Don't let this be your segue into Blood Hunt. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but it will spoil some big things, including the ending of Blood Hunt. So I don't want that to be spoiled for anybody. So here we go. Blood Hunt, Marvel Universe, and the credits right here. Black Panther Blood Hunt 1 through 3, Strange Academy Blood Hunt 1 through 3, and then Hulk Blood Hunt, the one-shot. This book has 192 pages and retails for $24.99. Your credits are Cheryl Lynn Eaton writing the Black Panther story, Fareed Karami drawing it. Here's your color assist or your color artist assist, Uncanny Omar Tuck Pretty One Day, Andrew Dahlhaus, and Joe Sabino doing the lettering, Daniel Jose Older writing the Strange Academy Blood Hunt with Luigi Sagaria, Eric Gapstur, and I think it's Edgardo Delgado doing the colors for the most part. Who did the colors for the Strange Academy series? Clayton Cowles doing the lettering, Philip Kennedy Johnson writing the Hulk, and Danny Earls being the artist, and Matthew Wilson on colors, and Corey Petit on lettering. So it will tell you a little bit about what happened in the actual Blood Hunt when you have the Blood Coven coming in and making the whole world dark and turning heroes into vampires, wiping the floor with the Avengers butts in one issue. So it's a new breed of vampires that have darkened the world, so there is no sunlight coming in. So these superheroes have to fight against these vampires that are stronger than ever. Some of the heroes get turned into vampires, such as the case of Black Panther, but how can he still remain intact with his humanity? And what are the Wakandans doing to help their fellow leader? Like, well, how are they going to deal with this? Are they going to be able to cure him? So that's what's going on through the pages of Black Panther. You know, it's him and Wakanda trying to deal with the fact that he may be a vampire, and there could be some lifelong effects of what happens when you get turned into a vampire, as we see in some cases, like the case of Jubilee. Now, one of my favorite series that came out in recent years, my daughters and I absolutely loved it, and that is Strange Academy. So I'm glad that it is continuing in a series of just little mini-series, depending on the event. We do have covers here by Humberto Ramos, and this time around we're focusing on the characters of Doyle and Toth and Zoe and Herman and Shaylee and Pia, this character right here, who will have ties to the Blood Hunt. So yes, it is the same kind of thing. The Strange Academy is now being invaded by a bunch of vampires, and they're gonna need the help of, well, who else, right? I mean, he's the headmaster, so it's Doctor Strange. And Doctor Strange has had a past with vampires, including trying to wipe out the entire vampire line with his big fight against Dracula during Uncle Roger's run with the Montesi formula. So that's, of course, brought up, and there's a couple of other surprises here. Along the way, we do see characters like Agatha, I keep wanting to call her Agatha Christie, but no, I know it's not her. Agatha Harkness comes and helps the kids out, and a couple of these kids have their own little secrets. Now, when you get to issue 3 will spoil a few things for you, like who's behind the new vampire coven, the new breed of vampires, and then how they go about defeating them. So I want to be as vague as possible because I don't want to spoil that for you. So just keep that in mind before you get to issue 3. If you haven't read Blood Hunt, go and read it first. And then we have Hulk Blood Hunt. Now, this story is taking place during Philip Kennedy Johnson's run. So if you haven't been reading it, it does a really good job of kind of recapping what's going on. You get the sense that perhaps he's been walking around for a while, avoiding this evil being known as the Eldest, and whoever he was walking with, if you've been reading it, you know it's Charlie, has been turned into this little miniature statue somehow, and he's trying to get her humanity back. So that's what this is, and of course, not just dealing with demons, but dealing with vampires. And Philip Kennedy Johnson's Hulk has been a blast to read. It is grotesque, it's got some kick-ass action, and this one-shot right here is no different than what's going on in the main series. All the way in the back, we are treated to some variant covers. And there's the Hulk one. I love homage covers, man. And there we go. 192 pages, retailing for $24.99. Immortal X-Men, Volume 5, X-Men Forever. Now, this is a very interesting title for the book because this is collecting the miniseries X-Men Forever 1 through 4. And when I was kind of giving you a hint as to what this book was at the very beginning, you might have been a little lost, like, what the hell are you talking about? And even after reading it, you might be like, what the hell is he talking about? What's going on? Because, my goodness, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. If you have not read Immortal X-Men, if you have not read The Fall and Rise of X, this is going to confuse you. Because this is a miniseries that relies heavily on the fact that you've read those, or you're currently reading The Fall and Rise, and because it explains things about characters that were coming in and out of the series, and it gets a little confusing. So yes, spoilers for some of it. Even the vague things I'm going to be talking about get confusing, and I have to talk a little bit about spoilers. All right. So, collecting X-Men Forever 1 through 4. It's a 2024 series, not to be confused with the other X-Men Forever series. This book has 120 pages and retails for $17.99. So, this story, let's get to the artwork, is all written by Kieran Gillen. So it's a continuation of his run. Luca Maresca is doing the artwork, Federico Blee doing the colors, and Clayton Cowles doing the lettering. And it all starts with Irene in a flashback in 1899, sitting next to Nathaniel Essex, and having a vision of Enigma, or what she believes is God, and what the future is going to bring, and knowing things that are going to happen. So, it's pretty much the story of Destiny and Mr. Sinister sitting around here during this classical orchestra. And what ends up happening here is, after seeing that vision, she is orchestrating a plan to make sure nothing of that vision comes to pass, right? She is trying to get rid of things that could be impacting the future later on with there's a data construct that's like a digital ghost, if you will, which kind of starts the whole Books of Destiny. My gosh, this is so difficult to talk about. Even if I talked about the spoilers, this is a little difficult to talk about. And I love X-Men, and I love Kieran Gillen. So what is happening here is you're setting up the events of what will happen in the Fall and Rise of X. It's those characters that appear in and out of those miniseries that we didn't know how they gathered or what exactly happened. So Enigma tells Destiny to stay away from him, and he'll give her Krakoa. And she can do whatever she wants with Krakoa, as long as she confirms to stay away from Enigma. Now, during the fall and rise of Powers of X, Xavier has a plan, right? Like, Xavier's dream has been destroyed with Orchis coming in and destroying his X-Men. He doesn't know that a lot of them are still alive. Like, to him, a lot of these characters have died. And, oh my gosh, the story of Mother Righteous gets a little confusing here. But what happens here is Mother Righteous is reacting to her failing to end up, like, reaching Dominion. Because if you read that series, if you read the Sins of Sinister, and then eventually the Fall and Rise, you'll understand what reaching Dominion would mean for any of these Sinister clones. Exodus is trying to bring back Jean Grey because the last hope for all these people is perhaps the Phoenix. And if the Phoenix can come back, then perhaps they can fix everything. Which, if you read the series, you know that that's exactly what happens, right? Like, that's one of the things that, well, I don't want to say the Phoenix is what fixes everything, but the Phoenix does play well, now looking back, is kind of a small role. So you are going to have appearances through here by the characters of Selene and Mr. Sinister. So Xavier is building his team of X-Men that will go outside of the timelines to help fix it, right? That's where those characters like Rasputin comes in. That's where those characters like Hope comes in, and Prodigy, and Doug. Doug comes in. But now Doug is, well, he's infested with that Sinister DNA, if you will. So this story is really relying on the fact that you have read the Rise and Fall, because through here, it's an odd collection, and it's not, you know, the writer's fault, because I'm wondering how this will be collected, because in X-Men 1, like X-Men Forever 1, the Mother Righteous story in here is part of the crossover. So you already know what happens to Mother Righteous. So it's a little hard to be invested in the hunt for Mother Righteous when we already know what her status quo is when you've read the Rise of Powers of X. So it makes the tension a little less. Now, other things that are happening behind the scenes are really cool. So I am so curious how that omnibus is going to be mapped that comes out next year. The Fall and Rise of Powers of X. Like, that's going to be really interesting to see what is decided to go where. So yeah, again, the whole point, let's bring the Phoenix back. We got to get the Phoenix Force back, and who better to help than Rachel Summers and Hope. Now, Hope has a little bit of a secret, you know, because she is, at the end of the day, a warrior trained by somebody like Cable. So I will say it's a confusing as hell series, and I'm pretty sure I just confused everybody by giving you the small pitch. But man, this was enjoyable. Especially if you've already read it. You're like, you can fill in the blanks. Oh, that's where Rasputin went. That's where the sword is. Okay. That's why Doug is acting a certain way during the scene. It almost feels like a director's cut of what should have been in those stories in the miniseries. But I'm glad it was kept out so it could be part of this X-Men Forever story. Now, that's all I will say about this. And let's go to the back. I think that might have been the most confusing. I think I confused the hell out of myself. Look at the covers. But if you're an X-Men fan, you're already buying this anyway. And we have variants back here, including the 5. And Phoenix. That White Room plays a big part in this. So, Volume 5 of Immortal X-Men by Kieran Gillen. 120 pages, $17.99. And it is that time of the video where we're looking at all the spines of the books coming out this week from Marvel Comics, and also a small reminder to hit that like button, please. It goes a long way for us here on the channel, and it's a very small thing you can do. All right, let's continue with this overview. Star Wars Legends Epic Collection, The Empire Volume 2. This is the new printing in case you missed the original printing. And this one here has 440 pages. It is $44.99. The stories take place between episodes 3 and 4. So it's that 2-decade era of Star Wars, in between the movies. And I want to say Dark Times was one of the last things that Dark Horse ended up doing before. Was it part of the the Dark Times right here, the not Out of the Wilderness, but the Blue Harvest, I think. That was all part of the last books before the rights went over back to Marvel because of the whole Disney acquisition. Now, collected in here is Star Wars Dark Times 6 through 17, Star Wars Dark Times Blue Harvest 0, and Star Wars Dark Times Out of the Wilderness 1 through 5. But as you can see from the table of contents, you do have different storylines, like the parallel storyline. You've got Vector, which is an amazing story. I can't wait to talk about that here in a second. Blue Harvest, not to be confused with the Family Guy movie. I think it was the first movie. And then Out of the Wilderness, all part of the Star Wars Dark Times era. To give you a quick recap as to when this takes place and what Vader is doing. This book has 440 pages and again, retails for $44.99. And the stuff in here has been collected in omnibus format. It's also been, of course, collected in the trade paperbacks. So this is the Jedi's escaping from Order 66. So you've got the return of these characters that were in the Dark Times, the first few issues in the first Epic Collection. So you've got Master Krunk and you've got Master Giselle and how they end up crashing in this planet in the Bogdan system. And they end up just finding a camp of younglings. I always think of Yinglings when I say that. That are stationed here. And there's also the return of other characters that have shown up in the first volume. So if you have read the first one, this also has the character of Bomo Greenbark, right? It's not Greenback. No, Greenbark. That's what it is. And how their worlds are going to collide again. Because, unfortunately, of everything that happened with his family in the previous volume. So this is them fighting against the Empire and the remnants of what the Jedis once were. And who will remain, training to be a Jedi. Pretty cool series. I liked it. I think, to me, the Dark Times got better and better. The next story arc is one of my favorite crossovers, and it's such an interesting crossover. Here, let's actually get to it right here. Because it is the Vector crossover. And the Vector crossover is interesting because it crossed over into other comic books. So you had the Knights of the Old Republic, and you had Rebellion, and then Legacy, and then the Dark Times comics, which this is. So it's a cool crossover because Knights of the Old Republic takes place 4,000 years before episode 1. So how does it tie into this? Well, all I will say is that it focuses on the characters of Zane Carrick, who's the main character, of course, and Celeste Mornay, and how they found this talisman in Terrace. And this talisman ends up attaching itself to Celeste, or Celeste, I guess, if you want to call her that. I always think of my daughter's middle name. But what happens to her when that talisman is attached makes it for a really interesting story, and how it's going to just transcend time and go into this 4,000 years later storyline that features Vader. And I thought that was so cool. The Blue Harvest storyline is awesome. I really like it. I think it's probably my favorite one of the Dark Times, making this book my pick of the week. Getting the near mint condition seal of approval. Man, this was such a great collection. If you've never read it, because you figure, okay, Empire, got it. Years between episode 3 and 4. This is going to be Vader heavy, right? We're going to focus on Vader and hunting down Jedis. That's going to be cool. But there's so much more than that, right? There's so much more than just Vader hunting down enemies of the Empire. It's the story of Jedi fugitive Dash Jenner, who's looking for redemption. and ends up accepting this job. While still Vader is, trying to find all these Jedis that are out there, with, of course, some help, and also trying to find his role in what exactly the Emperor Palpatine has in store for him, because we still don't know, right? And we still feature the characters of Greenbark and the rest of the crew of the Uhumele, who was at the very beginning of the story here. It's a continuing of those characters from Dark Times. This is absolutely awesome, just because of everything that happens, how it just encompasses all the story arcs together and coming to this ending while hunting down this Jedi fugitive who is just questioning what to believe anymore when the rest of the Jedis are destroyed by somebody that used to be part Jedi. And then that next story arc wraps up some of those loose ends. And I think that was it for Dark Times, because of the way they're releasing these books. And please let me know in the comments down below if I am not right. By the way, I forgot to mention this. They do this with all the Epic collections and in the omnibus formats. Right when the story arc is about to start, they tell you who wrote it and who the artists were. And the artist, like Douglas Wheatley's art, it is fan-freaking-tastic. And speaking of Douglas Wheatley, here we go with some concept sketches and then original art. Look at the detail on that, man. That is insane. This guy's so good. I'd love to see an artist edition of this stuff, which I know is a little trickier to get than, Marvel and DC art, but man, it would be so cool. And what is this? This is Dark Times. Oh, the covers. And this piece right here by Walter Simonson and other Star Wars Epic collections. Now, this is a new printing, in case you missed it. $44.99, and that is Star Wars Legends Epic Collection, The Empire Volume 2. Last but certainly not least is the New Avengers Modern Era Epic Collection, Volume 2, Civil War. And man, they love that cover. Mike Deodato Jr. This one here is 496 pages and retails for $44.99. Can't take a snap of that, because here in 2 years' time, that's going to be filled in with so many modern era Epic collections. Holy moly, look at the credits over here. All of this written by Brian Michael Bendis, but you have artists in here like Mike Deodato Jr., Alex Malev, Olivier Coipel, Jim Chung, Alex Malev again. Why did I read his name twice? Lionel Francis Yu. I think there's a where is it? Rick Mays and Frank Cho. Frank Cho is the one that I remember. And then the Steve McNiven issues. But the one that kicks it off is the David Finch issues. Now, this does collect the New Avengers 11 through 25. New Avengers guest starring the Fantastic Four, which I believe was a free giveaway to our soldiers that were serving at the time. It came out in 2005. Giant Size Spider-Woman #1, New Avengers Annual #1, New Avengers Illuminati one-shot, and Civil War: The Confession. Again, 496 pages and retailing for $44.99. The crossover here, it is part of continuity. I don't think it was collected in the oversized hardcover, but they did collect it in the omnibus format. And this is the team up between the Fantastic Four and the New Avengers and the fight against these Kree soldiers. Now, the next story arc that's in here will be the Ronin story arc. I do find this interesting that they give you a quick recap to remind you that there was only one person that turned down Captain America and Iron Man from joining the New Avengers. And if you had read the Secret War, not Secret Wars, Secret War by Brian Michael Bendis, you would know who we were all expecting to join the Avengers. But there's this new mysterious character named Ronin who is handling a lot of these villains in the Marvel Universe by himself, whether it's Hydra or herself. Whether it's Hydra or the Hand. So in this issue, Ronin travels all the way to Japan to take down some Clan Yoshida characters, while also getting involved with the New Avengers more and more. And we finally, after this first couple of years, or rather just the first year of New Avengers, I forgot there were all these tie-ins too, and the House of M stuff, we find out who is behind the Ronin mask when it is finally revealed who Ronin is. And you can find out for yourself who that is in case you haven't read it. We have the Spider-Woman issue, which this giant size issue ties heavily into the next arc, which focuses on Jessica Drew and how she got her powers back and how she got her powers back could affect the team when Captain America finds out, exactly how or what ended up happening to her and how she ended up with the Avengers. Is she a double agent? Is she still serving Shield? What's going on here? And speaking of Shield, there's these other characters that have served Shield over the years that are with the Avengers. And then we get the collective storyline. The collective storyline deals with this person that has this power. And this power, I'm not going to reveal where it comes from, because the Avengers themselves figure it out. But it wipes the floor with Alpha Flight. Alpha Flight doesn't even get a page to fight. They're just knocked out in, off panel. Ugh. And Maria Hill calls for the Avengers to come and help to see who exactly this person is that is known as the Collective and where this power could have come from. And can somebody with the power of 1,000,000 suns or 1,000 suns, depending on who's writing the character, like the Sentry, take out this Collective? And yeah, you do find out exactly who it is later on and where that power came from. Magneto gets involved. This is where the classic cover comes from of, hey, let's send our metallic characters to go and fight Magneto. That sounds like a good idea. Wolverine, Cap with that shield, and, Iron Man, whose armor's made of metal. Go and fight Magneto. Good call, Cap. Oh, we get the beautiful annual right here. I think this is the annual, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, the annual, where we have a marriage. And a lot of the secrets that were foreshadowed in the first volume, so the first 5 issues, are kind of revealed through here. But it is a marriage between Jessica Drew and Luke Cage. Nope. It was supposed to be Jessica Drew. That was the character on Alias. But Marvel said, no, create your own character. So that's where we got Jessica Jones. So it is a wedding between Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. Does it happen? Does he say yes? Does she say yes? What will happen? And then how's this new super adaptoid part of that story, part of that wedding? Then we get the Illuminati one-shot, the story that wrecked Marvel Comics in half. Because there are people that are like, no way, this can't happen. That's a weird retcon. And other people that are like, that's awesome. There's a secret society within the Marvel Universe. Cool. No matter what side you're in, this still a thing. It's canon, so it doesn't matter how you feel. Well, I guess it does matter how you feel, but I don't know. Talk to your therapist about it. If you need to talk to your therapist about Marvel Illuminati, you're living a good life. All right, so where was I? Yes, we meet the Illuminati. This group of individuals in the Marvel Universe that have been pretty much pulling the strings behind everything, from the Infinity Gauntlet all the way until present day, what happened here, House of M, things that they know of. And of course, this leads into the whole Planet Hulk, which will lead into Civil War, because not everybody got invited to the party, and decisions are going to be made. It's the Howard Chaykin issue. So now, speaking of Civil War, that's what we kick into here. Civil War is one of these events that happens that wasn't really a crossover event. The event itself happened within 7 issues, written by Mark Millar, drawn by Steve McNiven. And when I'm asked, if an omnibus comes out, how's it going to be mapped? Are they going to intertwine issues of Wolverine? Are they going to intertwine issues of the Avengers in there? Not really, because you don't really need those to, get the whole story. So what the series, the comics that were coming out that had that logo right here that you saw on the title, New Avengers Civil War, what they really did was show you how the Marvel Universe was affected by the Civil War when they had the Superhero Registration Act and they're forced to sign it, even though some of these heroes don't want to reveal their identities. Captain America finds Falcon in this very first issue and ends up looking for Hank Pym for some help. And that is the one that's drawn by Howard Chaykin. Then you have the Lionel Francis Yu here. This is a really powerful issue. This is the one where Jessica Jones ends up running away. S.H.I.E.L.D. ends up attacking Luke Cage. Captain America and Daredevil show up together to pick a fight with members of S.H.I.E.L.D. and members of the government. How are you going to go up against those guys? Jessica gets involved because Jessica Drew had been a part of S.H.I.E.L.D. And she might be working for someone else. And who exactly would that be? This is where things get interesting and kind of lead into the whole Secret Invasion storyline. And where does the Sentry, the most powerful being in the Marvel Universe during this time, where does his alliance lie? And what is he doing hanging out with the Inhumans? And then we get the Iron Man. So, you know, you did have like Captain America versus Iron Man, I think is what a lot of people see when they think of Civil War. And rightly so, right? It's in the posters everywhere. They made a whole damn movie about it, so of course it is. So it does show you what's going on behind the scenes a little bit. The most interesting thing about this collection that I always thought was the Civil War, the Confession. It's interesting because both of these stories are written by Bendis. And the first story takes place after Civil War, but the second part of the story takes place right before Captain America 25. So I always thought they belonged backwards. Anyway, here is Tony talking about the events of Civil War and the history of mankind and our history of violence and what exactly Civil War did for the superheroes and whether it was worth it or not. And who he's talking to, well, you can find out for yourself. And the next story arc is Captain America talking to Tony Stark, and that's all I will say about that. But once you read it, you're going to be like, yeah, I wonder why the first story wasn't put second. But anyway, doesn't matter. It's collected here in the same way it was printed. In the back, you do have some extras, like pencils right there by Steve McNiven, and this unused page by Olivier Coipel, and then the back of the book. And that's it. That, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing any of these books, don't forget to check out our sponsor, cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And those were the books coming out from Marvel Comics this week, as well as some of the Omnis that are coming out this week. So next week will be the start of my top 10, top picks of the week, or year, oh my gosh, week 2024. So I will be skipping the next week of Marvel trades, but I'll put some in the following week, or maybe the week after if I'm done with the top, or all the tier lists that I do towards the end of the year, the beginning of the year. It's just crazy to think about 2025 right around the corner. But that's it, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for continuing to enjoy this segment and letting me know that you still love taking a look at the Marvel trades coming out. If you have any questions, leave those down below. Smash that like button on the way out. Everyone stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.